SDP VIP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Jesse Blake.
Speaking of,
Adam loves the dad noise.
I'm a grunter. I'm a grunter. I am. I'm okay.
What's that?
Here. No, Matty Mike.
This is Adam when he walks into the studio every morning.
Yeah, I like it. That's how I feel good. I kind of like let it all out and, let the day come off me and then I'm ready to do the show.
Summer content idea. Just a TikTok compilation of Adam getting in and out of a car.
Now, I bring up the grunt to say this. Steve, you got real grumpy,
man,
on the stream last night. Jesse, can we play this one clip?
Sure.
You have not seen the game, and you just seen this clip.
You should be glad because then you didn't witness a travesty.
Here you go. Press play and then explain.
So it's incidental. It stays 5-on-4. That's terrible. It's a cowardly call. Cowardly. It's such a playoff call. Horrible. This is good content. It's not a very good league. Playoff typical. Horrible. Oof.
Wow. That's where we're headed. Oof.
Mm-hmm.
We're in oof territory.
So what happened was Nico Mikkola decided to run over the Rangers'
Igor Shesterkin,
leading candidate for the Conn Smythe Trophy. And the Rangers weren't happy about it. And the ref said, these are the same. Because the Panthers were already on the power play. It should have been 1minute 21 seconds of 5-on-3 for the Rangers. Because it's not like during the ensuing scrum, the Panthers were like, whoa, hey, well, we want no part of this. No, it's the Panthers. They're like a pig in shit.
Yeah, they're like, give it to me. Let's go.
Nope. They looked at this and they said, these are the same. And it's not a particularly good league that cares.
I guess the refs were upset because Gustafsson kind of takes down Mikkola behind the net.
He just ran over his goal.
And it's like, but everybody's tussling. Like Mikkola is engaged with Gustafsson and he takes him down, but everybody, if you're calling roughing on that instance where there's a scrum, it should be roughing on like 4 different guys.
Everyone. Well, that's why I called it cowardly, because it's not that it's the wrong call, which it is. It's not that it's the wrong call. It's that they're like, okay, I'm not about to hand a team a
5-on-3,
81 second 5-on-3,
1minute and 21 seconds
in game 5. Yeah, but I wanted to be weird, like the parents
be difficult.
Who say, yeah, my kid's 40 weeks, or something. Like that.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't even know how many weeks my own kid is.
Exactly. I don't need to. They're just they're under the age of 1.
They're not sleep trained. That's all I care about. Like that's all that matters. But no, it was playoff typical. Panthers were the better team last night. The team that deserved to win won, but like that play sucked.
Now, I want to ask, was that the Panthers, gentlemen, being a veteran playoff team now? They've seen a lot of playoffs in the last couple of years, and they know how to get other team. They know how to get away with stuff that the refs can't call or don't have the stones to call because they don't want to.
No, I don't think it's that deep.
You don't think it's that deep?
I don't think it's that deep. If anyone deserves credit or blame, it's Gustafsson for not acting like he's been there before. Because, people were rightly pointing out, rightly with an asterisk, like, well, they're going to call the retaliation. Like, I would love to have like 4 general rules for my job that I need to follow, and that's it, with like barely paying attention. Like, it just feels like that's what
the refs do.
Well, it's got to call the retaliation.
I think
paycheck, please.
The blame going on the Rangers players in that instance, I don't think it's entirely wrong. The Sportsnet broadcast was yelling about it at the time. It's like, you got to be a little smarter than that. You know that if you go in there, you're at the risk of losing the 5-on-3, and that's exactly how it ended up coming
That's
out.
why I wanted to ask about that, because I thought, is that the Panthers kind of goading them in and going, we can get away with this just because? Because we know.
No, they had an odd man rush that Mikkola was for some reason at the tip of the spear of, like he often is. I was very confused by that. It didn't work out, but then he just runs over Shesterkin.
Yep.
Like there was no Like there's no gray area. It's just it's a very obvious.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much as like the Panthers goading them into it. It's just like that's kind of what's happening at the end, and they're gonna like every team's gonna be in that little scrum after somebody runs your goaltender. It's just you got to make sure you stay out of it enough to where you don't get that rough. You don't give them an excuse to call the roughing penalty so that you don't get the 5-on-3 because the refs don't want a 5-on-3 in the playoffs.
Does any team in the NHL try as hard as the Panthers? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
They are 150% every time.
Holy,
Yeah.
I don't know where they get the energy. Like that's the thing. Like you usually see teams fizzle when they try to play like Florida does.
Does Paul Maurice do what Travis Green does, which is like make players vomit during training camp to make sure they're in shape?
I don't know. Maybe they want to play for each other.
Because Travis Green just bag skates you for the first little bit, right?
It's funny. So at our live show, and I'm sure you, if you've seen the live show that we did the other day in Vaughan, we were talking about the Panthers, and we're throwing little snipes at Sam Bennett. He gets away with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to put them on blast, but someone who has played in the Florida Panthers organization was there. And apparently they kept leaning over to the person they were with, and they're like, he's actually really nice. Which is fine.
That's the thing. I'm sure they're all nice people.
I don't think Sam Bennett's a bad person. Like I've said this about Brad Marchand before. That's the guy Sam Bennett punched and didn't get anything for. Okay, just so we all know who Brad Marchand is. I think he's a great person. I do. I genuinely think he's a great person. He's a scumbag on the ice. Sure. Absolute scumbag.
And I think you can separate the two.
Of course they can.
If you ask Matthew Nyes and his head how he likes Sam Bennett, you'll probably get a different answer than, you know what, he's a nice guy off the ice.
Nice guy off the ice. I didn't like his like John Jones spinning back fist elbow that he gave me with just impunity he's allowed.
Yeah, when he's just like, hey, I'm going to be peak Anderson Silva for an afternoon on the ice.
Like just bop, and it's fine.
Like, come on.
And he's done it twice, identically, both accidents. Crazy.
Now, we had no score through the first period, but 2 minutes into the second, we get a shorthanded, at home, in front of your fans, Chris Kreider goal.
It ruined a great story, eh? Like, that was great. Matthew Tkachuk with, like, the chirp of the playoffs. Chris Kreider goes to throw Tkachuk's mouth guard. After the game, Tkachuk says that was the best play he made all game. Unreal. Series goes back to MSG. Chris Kreider, friggin' in your face, shorthanded, gets it. Whole place goes nuts. It's a great goal. They needed a performance out of him. He's been such an important part of so many Rangers playoff runs, and he just hasn't quite been as effective in the series. I mean, you could add a lot of guys, not naming Alexei Lafreniere to that list. It would have been a cool story heading into game 6, but they lost. Sorry, guys. It's not as cool when you lose.
It was cool. Now, about 6 minutes later, Forsling ties it up, and then you have Lindell.
Nasty pass from Bennett.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, you mean the Forsling one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have Lindell at the beginning of the third, and then the Rangers pull the empty net. Bennett does score, but then Lafreniere scores with 50 seconds to go. I mean, good for Laff, but game was kind of over.
Man, they were really pressing, and the way they were playing actually made me believe like they might tie it. Laff scores. I'm like, they might tie it. And then the Rangers decided to forget how pucks work. Like for the last 50 seconds or whatever. Hey, let's ice it. There's like no time left. Let's ice it. Hey, you know what? Let's dump and chase and get into a 15-second puck battle when we only have 20 seconds left. What's wrong with you? What are you doing?
The puck battle, I thought, to end the game, that's the one I thought that was just smart. Who's the one who pinned it against the boards? On the Panthers. Whoever, I forget the player who actually did it the first time. Genius.
Yeah.
Like you are level A++ game situation management right there. I'm going to stick my skate right up against the boards with the puck, burn these 13 seconds. Fabulous stuff from the Florida Panthers. They're so well coached.
They are, but like that's what anyone with like functioning brain cells does is they kill the clock.
But like if they're to do that in that moment, you know, you could have sent it down the ice. That's also a possibility.
Yes.
And they do that net 50% of the time. But to have
Icing.
that, I thought it was a great
Set
little,
play.
because the New York Rangers getting that extra goal, I know you kind of dismissed it there, Adam, but it kept them alive for an extra, was it 49 seconds left?
Yeah, it made the game interesting.
Yeah, you allow the empty net, but then you get the one back and you're like, okay, maybe we can do it again. And then the Florida Panthers did what they do best and played great hockey.
And now the Rangers got to win one in Florida, and oof. If you watch games 3 and 4, I know they won game 3. I know they did, but it's kind of tough.
The Edmonton Oilers.
How about that?
Dallas
Undertaker
Stars,
sticking his glove out of the dirt.
we're not dead yet. 2-0
Nope.
Dallas at the end of the first period, and the Edmonton Oilers come back and have probably their best game of the playoffs. Those last.
Are we
periods.
done with the?
Well, we can keep going with the Oilers or the Rangers if you wanted to. There's other stuff I wanted to say, but we can do that.
Like,
do you have more
are we
Rangers things you want to break down?
Because there was the goal where the defense of the Rangers just completely decided to stop playing hockey.
Okay, show us that one.
Steve, you
Was this
you were
Forsling?
you were yelling about it on the stream too. I just want to get the breakout there where Forsling walks through 3 defenders.
They're just very, very quiet. They were all locked in on their guy, and no one had Forsling.
Because if we're talking about the Rangers potentially winning a game here and coming back, okay, this is the one here. Yeah. Okay. So if we're talking about the Rangers potentially winning a game, forcing a game 7, it's the main thing they need to figure out because they have so many offensive weapons. I don't care that Zibanejad doesn't get a point. I don't care Panarin doesn't have a point because there's other guys in the lineup that'll fill those spots for them. Yeah. When Panarin's not going, Laugh will step up. We'll get a random Goudreau game. It's awesome.
All those guys, I think, are playing better.
Yeah.
Panarin had a bit of a tough first period, but he got better as the game went. I want to say Zibanejad got an assist on the Kreider goal. He might have got 2. I can't remember because he shot the puck that Slav deflected. Slav.
Yeah. Zibanejad's got an assist on the Laugh goal and assist on the Kreider goal.
There you go. So he had a good night, and it's still not enough.
So
oh my God, this goal though.
So I'm perfectly fine with how the offense is working. It's just every time there's a giant defensive breakdown at some random point in the game and it leads to a Panthers goal. And it's a miserable experience watching this team try and play team defense.
Oh, look at that's so bad.
Paused. Here we go. It's a little blurry because the Wi-Fi is a little sketch right now. But how do you let a man like Forsling in behind your defense? It's like when a wide receiver in football will get around the end of the last DB, the safety who's supposed to be over the top covering the end point. And everybody is just up and he's right in behind. And it's a testament to how good the Florida Panthers are, but it's a testament to how this is the one weak spot of the New York Rangers, I think, because you have the best goaltending, you have enough offense.
Who's the right-handed D?
I can't tell you. It's
because I mean, to me, that's the definition of puck watching. Mm-hmm. They're just well, I got the puck and nothing else. I know there's a guy screaming towards the net. I don't give a damn.
So if
it's a nice pass from Bennett.
It's totally a nice pass, but I think it's unforgivable to let a man squeak through 3 defenders.
Now, here's what I see. 4 Panthers, 3 Rangers. And I go to what Mike Rupp said yesterday and NHL Network. I can't remember where he said it. And he basically said, I don't think their forwards know what they're doing. They're in above their heads. And one thing I'm trying to focus on more and more as I watch more and more hockey, I plan on doing this for a while and I try to get better at it, is defense is a team concept. Mm-hmm. And I mean, someone is asleep at the wheel here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Fox who's the right-handed D. So, what drives me nuts, and I unfortunately have to use the Leafs as an example here. The Pasternak Game 7 winner. That's not Marner's guy. Okay. I know based on your system and the way you play, as was pointed out, that's not supposed to be his guy. Mm-hmm. But as he's the only one there, perhaps it might have been helpful to adapt to that situation. So if Fox, I assume Fox is waiting on Matthew Tkachuk, right?
Yeah, that is Adam Fox, and Tkachuk is up here in this corner. There's Tkachuk there.
Someone's already trying to cut off that pass, right? And if Tkachuk gets the rebound, like if Forsling goes in, you do your best to push him to the outside. It makes his shot worse. Shesterkin gets the save or makes the save, and Tkachuk gets a rebound. I think you live with that.
Yes.
I think you live with that. If at the end of the day, if you're gonna puck watch, you might as well puck follow also, and it just doesn't happen here.
When I see this, I see the way it unfolded is unforgivable in how they're playing defense. The way you described it, if they go in there and they get the rebound, that's forgivable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay. I will live with that. But to watch it's for Panthers for sure. But for you to not cover the man just coming in between you guys and letting that pass go there, I want Laviolette to figure this out and just like, hey, maybe he needs better horses on the back end who are a little.
How did you guys feel that Trouba and Keandre Miller were last night? Because that's been struggling too.
Keandre Miller loves taking bad penalties.
Dude,
it's his favorite hobby.
He's been terrible.
He's like, oh, I can either take up trains or I can take up taking bad penalties, and you pick bad penalties.
But what about Lego, Keandre?
No, fuck that. Fuck Lego. It's terrible.
Now I'm just imagining him innocently playing in a train shop like Bobby Bacala from the friggin' Sopranos. No, I thought he got better as the game went. His first period was terrible. Another thing with this team, just like in game one, they all look like their dog died. Like they all looked like, to quote the commentary team from FIFA 2001, they look like they dropped their sandwich in a puddle. They just look so depressed and downtrodden every time they make a mistake. And I just feel like you so rarely see that out of winners. Like you so rarely see that out of the team that ends up taking it all. They all have this belief. It's something that the Leafs talk about a lot as well. We got to believe. We got to believe when we got to believe. And I never believe them. Like with just the way they say it. Like, all right, you can say words. I know words too. But like it's one thing to say them. You got to believe it.
You can say anything, to be honest.
You can say anything.
Steve Dangle, number 1 center on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm an astronaut with $1 billion from Saudi Arabia.
Wow, it's crazy.
To promote their 3-on-3 league.
Yeah, so when Mitch Marner has a mic in front of him and he's like, I believe in this team, we're all like, you know what?
Yeah, like it so often happens in the playoffs where one team is favored and another team is not. But the other team, the team that's not favored is like, I don't know, we're just going to try to play.
Yeah.
And like you see they're playing loosey-goosey and everything. And I think playoff intensity gets to people. And the Rangers just, listen, they're still 2 wins away from winning the series. They could easily win back-to-back games. In fact, they've already done it in this series. It's difficult to envision the way they carry themselves and the way they're getting outshot into oblivion. Like last night, it really felt like they had a lot of the puck. I don't know what the time ended up being. I'm curious. I'd be curious to know what puck possession was after 40 minutes. Man, Florida just got further and further and further away from them. The Rangers are taking these shots or having the puck, and they're grossly overpassing it. And the Panthers are forcing them into these situations. Nothing is getting through. They're missing wide. They're hitting the side of the net. It's being blocked. Nothing's getting through. And I keep saying Shesterkin's the better goalie in this series, or at least he's performing like the better goalie. The Panthers are making it so Bob doesn't have to work. They're just making his job really easy.
The Rangers have been honestly doing that for a lot of goalies so far this series, where they don't maintain a lot of pressure in the zone. Everything kind of happens instantaneously, whether it's just piling on the shorthanded goals, which come off the rush, because you're going the other way on the power play.
6.
Yeah.
And the rest of the NHL has 8 combined.
It's insane. Or it'll be like they'll be in the zone for a little, be a long shot on net, you get a rebound, it's a goal. But they don't really sustain the pressure, and they've been fine doing that so far, and I'm really not worried about the offense. I think just the defense more than anything needs to find a way to get through.
I mean, the reason they're not scoring more is they're hemmed in their own zone all the time. right? So I don't think it's that their offense is letting them down. It's Florida is caving them in. They don't have an answer for Kachuk Bennett and whoever plays with them, usually Rodriguez. They don't have an answer for it. Like usually you see that develop over the course of a series. Nope.
And with
not there.
With all that being said, I think these easily, when we look back on this season, these were the two best teams of the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
I think we underestimated Florida all year long
because of the Metropolitan.
Because the Metro wasn't great, and Carolina had obvious flaws. We saw that unfold in that series when they go down 3-0 and you see all the stuff that happened. Toronto wasn't serious. Boston, they got through Toronto, but when they come up against Florida, you see all the holes in Boston. These are the best two teams. So, and there's easily a chance. I think New York takes Game 6, to be honest, and they have a Game 7. Then who knows what happens in Game 7? But we'll see how it goes.
Man, a Game 7 at MSG would be
unreal.
It'd be delicious.
Who doesn't want that?
I would love it.
And
the answer is Panthers fans.
Last thing, if we can, because the happiest man in the history of time right now is Paul Maurice.
Did he dye his hair? Or is that just Florida sunshine?
I don't know.
No, that's Florida sunshine.
Because he's looking very young these days, very youthful.
I think, based on how this press conference goes, I think you'll realize that Paul Maurice has never been happier in his entire life. Here's an answer when he's asked about the take giveaways. In the game last night. There was only one by the Florida Panthers all game long, and he has a great response that I think is something we've talked about previously, and it's just happy Paul Maurice, so it's fun.
Paul, you guys, according to the stat sheet, had just one giveaway tonight. Is that something that you...
Awesome.
Is that something
Just don't tell me Bobrovsky had it.
No. Do you want to know who it was?
Yeah, who was it?
Eki.
Oh, he's out.
Is that something that you guys talked about?
Bits.
Or, I mean, you were surprised by it, so I don't know if...
No, you know what? And to be fair, I don't follow the qualification of what a giveaway is. There were so many puck battles on the walls that I thought we had control of the puck that we didn't make a play, and it's into their feet, and then they get possession of it. I would count that as a giveaway. I think the change of possession, it's either forced or it's not in some ways. What am I trying to say? I think there's a hell of a lot more giveaways in that game for two coaches, and Ekblad's out.
So the one thing before we get to the fun Ekblad out and Paul Maurice is just so happy. The giveaway thing I wanted to bring up because we talked about it with when Biz ran his SOT on Mitch Marner and all of the turnovers he had, and then when you check the actual stat card and it says Mitch Marner had one turnover, and you're like, no, we just ran a 7-piece highlight reel of Mitch Marner turnovers. The numbers aren't what we think of. We can't trust these giveaway numbers on the box score because the people who are in front of the benches, who are on the benches, who are on the ice, don't look at it the same way the stat counters do. So
or the coaches do.
Or the coaches do. And I like when somebody who has more pedigree within the game says the thing that kind of we're all thinking. So there's something to back it up there. And I just want to bring that up.
I want to just add to that. I think the more important stat for individual players anyway is takeaways. Takeaways, when you actively take the puck away, like you look at a guy like Mark Stone where you see it over and over and over again. Another guy who's good with takeaways is William Nylander.
Feels like a takeaway is easier to quantify than a giveaway.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, because what Paul Maurice there is not. He's saying, well, if we gave the puck or if it changes possession, it's a giveaway. I don't think it is. I think the idea of a giveaway is you coughed it up because of pressure or because of mistake or because of both.
Well, it's an opportunity you could have had the puck and you didn't.
Otherwise, we're just tracking change of possession.
I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, which is not.
But my whole thing with this is not like the individual stats of like what we think each should mean. I just think like the way you look at each stat is different in your evaluation of the team and who should be out there. It's not just black and white. Hey, this guy had this many giveaways this season or amongst this games, and then you put that into a stat, and then it pumps out some number on this guy's defensive metrics or offensive metrics. It's not that simple. I don't think anybody within the game thinks it's that simple. No. And a lot of the times we look at things and we try and make it that simple, and it's really not. So complicated and nuanced. I
mean, he literally finds the publicly available information kept by the National Hockey League laughable. Like he burst out laughing.
It better not have been Bob.
That was a knee slapper. He thought it was hilarious. So That's really interesting though, because he quantified to an extent what the Florida Panthers, he is the head coach of the Florida Panthers, what the Florida Panthers count as a giveaway. I wonder if they track it internally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they have to.
It probably takes forever.
Yeah.
I also wonder if there's ever an instance where a game is so bad, a coach just goes to the stats department and they go, no.
Don't count this one.
That's burning the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're going to burn the tape of that game. No, it's really burning the tapes when you tell your stats department not to track it.
Yeah.
I have a little thing that like tracks my golf swings, and like if you completely like skull one or you just miss it, you don't include that in like your average distance or anything. If you hit your driver 100 yards and it's supposed to go 200, you just don't.
If
have
I
that
hit my
one in the
driver 100
stats.
yards, it'd be the best hit I've ever had. Ever. It's the best hit I've ever. I'd be like, please include.
Right. So
that's my only hit.
So if I'm doing that I'm the amateurist of stat keeper for my golf, I think they should be doing that too at their level.
Yep. Yes. No, I watched a game where possession changed hands probably 500 times and only one giveaway from the team in red.
Yep.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stop
And
it
then-
immediately.
Do you guys have any thoughts on him just running bits and doing Ekblad's out?
No
and
one's
everybody,
having a
and
better
everybody's just laughing.
I like that he has personality, man. I really, really do. And I think that it wasn't whatever happened in Winnipeg that caused him to be. I don't think that team was I think there were character issues on that team. And I've seen reporters talk about it. It's been rumored about it. I think he managed a lot and dealt with a lot there. And that's not it's not an indictment on the city of Winnipeg. I think it's just the players that they had at the time. And I think he's enjoying it. And what's nice is that we've got a coach with some personality in this league. So people like him, Paul is becoming a star before our eyes. 25 years into his career. How about that? I love that.
Oh, even more. Even more. I'm not sure any coach has ever been more poorly timed for the Leafs. He was the head coach of the Leafs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who just learned that because I said it. Like, that's how much of a blip on the radar his time with the Leafs was. He was the Marlies guy. They called him up. They gave him no goalies. And he'll talk about that in interviews, too. He completely sewers his guys. It's hilarious. Because he had Toskala Raycroft.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's just terrible. And then he was gone. And he's basically been pretty damn successful since.
Yeah. And a lot of that time without goaltending right until Hellebuck showed up.
Hellebuck. Yeah. No goaltending, the goaltender.
Are the two best coaches in the National Hockey League in the state of Florida?
Yeah. I think that you can make a good. I mean,
Certainly
it depends
the
on
two funniest.
Depends on what you think of Bruce
And I
Cassidy.
think that counts.
Bruce Cassidy in Vegas is to me one of the best. Although rumor has it that Vegas is very analytically inclined, so it takes some of that out of the coach's hands. As in, like, they'll hand you a piece of paper after a period and say, these are the lines you're going to
Like the Blue Jays?
The Blue Jays will do that too.
Like,
yeah,
that
the Blue
sounds like
Jays
the
do
Blue
that.
Jays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it, but like,
Can
there are
they
certain teams-
borrow some of the Golden Knights' success or what?
Oh no.
No?
You actually have to believe your stats are wrong for that.
Oh, that's good.
That's
good.
Again, remember the score takes care of itself, except when it doesn't. And
the Honshu Chronicles or whatever.
Who else would I put? I mean,
Pete
how do we not
DeBoer
put Pete DeBoer in
Has
there?
been in
yeah.
4 conference finals now.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years.
I would
So
say the one
DeBoer
coach
gets
that's
in there.
missing is Craig Berube because he's the Leafs coach. He's now among the greatest of all time.
No Jim Montgomery in there?
Oh, Monty, man.
No Rick
okay,
Tocchet
all
in
right,
there?
all right. How many years of Monty in Boston do we have to talk about before we go?
I'm not
putting
putting him in that category.
Well, because he had 2 amazing regular seasons.
How
But
many years
then-
until he gets Dwayne Casey'd, I think.
That's what I'm trying to say. Because like there were conversations happening. You guys remember if Boston loses Game 7 this year, Monty's job's under threat.
Oh, yeah?
What?
Yeah?
What?
Well, you blew it last year. You can't blow it again.
Yeah.
Like eventually something's got to give.
Isn't that nuts?
I
though?
mean, pretty rare you blow a 3-1 series deficit back-to-back years.
Yeah.
Like, it's happened.
A little bit on the coach.
even
I want to say it's happened less than 40 times in NHL history. So for it to happen twice in 2 years,
even
is insane.
even almost blowing it the second time is still almost blowing it.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you still have to look at that and go, well, that's not great.
No.
Like what people are sticking Rod Brindamore with, despite the fact that Rod's actually won a lot of playoff series in his time in Carolina. It's like Monty might be at the beginning of that unless they figure out what the thing is to get them to the next level.
This is, once again, I asked the question a few weeks ago. How many elite coaches are there?
Oh, well, you can't have a lot.
Well, like
You have to have like 3 to 5 max.
I think we have a category of 3 to 5, and then another category of maybe 8 good ones, and then I think you got a whole big old pile of mid, and then you got some dudes who teams are just trying.
Can I get you guys? I'm going to do it. We're going to clip this.
Okay.
Adam and Steve's. Adam Wild and Steve Dangle's top 5 coaches in the National Hockey League.
Oh. All right.
List it.
All right.
You got to make it quick
Is
and
it just
snappy.
this year?
Currently,
Right now.
Yeah.
Currently, and based off the past.
Based
few
on
years.
vibes.
Based on V-Base.
No, that changes my answer. Because I don't
Okay.
like Pete DeBoer. Like, I'm not.
Pete DeBoer does
gonna
not
be
have vibes.
All right, let's get another round for Pete.
Yeah.
Like, no. Cooper. That guy's gonna be telling knee slappers till they kick us out.
Okay, based on the best. Based on BS.
I think, by the way, I think Cooper can quote like Socrates too. Like, I think he's one of those guys who's funny, but also very smart.
I'd go out for beers with Paul Maurice. I'd go out for wine with.
None of this is a top 5 list.
No, this is
just you
important.
guys gabbing
You
about.
said vibes, and I'm talking about who I want to drink with.
Okay, so here's the easy one. John Cooper is the best coach in the National Hockey League.
I think so.
1, 2.
Number 2, I think.
No, we should.
I'm not numbering.
We should have gone 5 to 1.
5 to 1. Oh,
Yeah, that makes the
all right.
TikTok
Well, we know
better.
how we're building it.
No,
Okay,
All right,
fine.
so 5.
We need the coach pyramid.
When are you going to come up with your cards?
I need to
have
do
your-
it.
you need to
come up with my stupid coach pyramid.
Coach power rankings.
Yeah.
John Cooper, Pete DeBoer, I think is in that.
Yep.
I'd put Bruce Cassidy in that.
Paul Maurice.
I wouldn't have a few years ago, but yeah, Paul Maurice I think has got to be in there now. And then
Can I throw a name?
Yeah,
That's going to make me unpopular?
you could lob it.
Except for one place. Rick Tockett's name. Not yet. Not yet.
He hasn't had enough.
He
hasn't had enough.
Is he not the current coach of the year?
He's the current coach of the year, but he hasn't had
which
enough.
means he's
Monty was last year.
2 years
Okay.
away from getting fired. Like,
Yeah.
that's usually what that means.
I think seeing what he did with a very similar Vancouver team that Bruce Boudreau had, what he did at the beginning of this season, and then through maintaining it throughout the team as they added pieces as well, Rick Tocchet needs to be in the top 5.
On the almost list, I would also put Andrew Brunette. Because what he did in Nashville this year,
Yeah.
I think is really impressive.
Is Brindamore out of your top 5?
Yes, because I'm putting in Jared Bednar.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Bednar.
Bednar.
That's a good
You
choice.
put DeBoer in there too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
I
you agree.
Brindamore, I think, is somewhere between the
5 and 10?
2 tiers that I mentioned.
Torts, what he did with Philadelphia this year.
Torts?
can't be ignored.
No?
What do you mean, nah? They almost made the playoffs.
Wow.
They're a garbage team.
Oh, you're right. He
Wow.
deserves to be in the elite class because they choked a playoff spot. What are you talking about?
Martin St. Louis?
No, not yet. No,
Not yet.
Not that
what
he
have they
could.
done?
They
have they done?
finished close to last and less close to last.
I'm asking. Okay, so you named a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Let's now do this. Steve Dangle and Adam Wild's top 5 coaches list going from 5 to 1.
Oh, I hate it.
Rank them.
All right, fine.
You said that like Dua Lipa.
Rod Brindamore 5.
Have you seen that interview with Seth Meyers?
No.
They play this game where it's truth or take a shot. And she goes, "You have 3 kids, right?" And then he goes, "Yeah." And she goes, "Rank them." Anyway, Adam, yes.
I'm glad you explained that. I know that Maddie's dying
right.
over there.
5 to 1.
Rod Brindamore at number 5. The disrespect to Rod is unfair. Okay.
Mhm. You can have your separate list.
Number 4, Jim Montgomery. I don't think that you put together the best regular season of all time and at least have a little recency bias and be on this list.
I put him in the Rod tier.
Put him in the Rod tier?
Yeah.
You get your own list. Shut up.
Okay, fine.
Actually, you know what? No. I'm taking Monty back because it's unfair. Because I have John Cooper later on.
Okay, list them.
Okay, so Rod,
We went through everybody.
Rod,
Okay.
Paul Maurice,
Mhm.
Pete DeBoer. Who was the number 2 I had? Jared Bednar, Number 1, John Cooper.
Steve.
I'm going to say Pomo number 5. You got to win a cup.
Pomo.
That's what they call him. Pomo. Paul Maurice. Prison rules, Paul.
Are you on the Panthers now?
Yeah. No,
Benny,
no,
you
I
know?
would call him like friggin' palsy or something.
Hey, Jess,
Like,
you remember when Dua Lipa took a shot? It was crazy.
It's a heartwarming clip.
All right, Steve, make your list.
I've put Paul Maurice 5, Bruce Cassidy 4, Bednar 3, DeBoer 2, Cooper 1.
Okay.
It's good. It's good
You're
stuff.
welcome, Maddie. All right? You're welcome.
We're almost in the Stanley Cup final. Just like a week away. So you got to get ready for all the action with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM. Now's your chance to play along with the NHL and NBA with BetMGM's new and innovative experiences, from electric one-timers to magical buzzer-beating breakaways, especially when they're shorthanded.
Steve, give me a parlay for Rangers Panthers. Goal scorer.
Former Leaf, Eric Gustafson and Carter Verhaeghe.
That's Gustafson to score anytime goal, and then Verhaeghe to score as well. I can't find. Oh, there it is. Verhaeghe.
That's the one you couldn't find?
There we go. It is. Oh, Gustafson to score a goal is 19-1.
Wow.
Total stake. How much are we putting on it, Steve?
$2.
$2. So each of them, potential payout $43.
Wow.
Way.
I didn't go on the same gay parlay part, but you can do same gay parlays.
Absolutely.
On BetMGM.
It's time for big time hockey action with BetMGM, your place for all things hockey. Log in or sign up today. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 19 plus to wager. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Call Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with iGaming Ontario. I first gave AG1 a try because
I thought you were explaining.
I'm looking at the two of you.
Because Jesse was, and he is the face of fitness on the show. So I thought it would be
Influencer Jesse.
a good
I don't
idea.
like being the face of fitness.
Yeah, me neither.
What the hell is that?
I wish it were me.
I wish it were
Which
me
is why
too.
I'm trying it.
It's you, Jesse.
I was thinking about this recently, and it's like, I get it's all about health and everything, but you know what's coming up?
Beach season?
Beach, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Summer beach bod season.
Yeah.
And the mentality I got going into this is, when you feel good, you look good. So you might as well feel good so you could look good. So AG1 helps me feel good.
And you
my
drink
gut
good.
health is good. And you drink good. And once you do that, you'll be ready for summer beach bod season.
Listen, it's AG1 that helps you take ownership of your health. And if you want to try it, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free travel AG1 packs. Jesse, you had them last show, actually.
Yeah, I brought it in
Travel
and
packs.
I drank it, so I don't have it anymore.
With your first purchase of drinkag1.com/STP. Again, it's drinkag1.com/STP. Check it out.
Good stuff.
Now, there was a reason. I do want to come back to one particular name later on in the show, and this is a tease, ladies and gentlemen. Jim Montgomery will figure huge into our conversation in the back half of the show. And neither of you, I don't think, know why. And that's good.
I don't.
That's exciting. Now, can we move to the Edmonton series? Are you guys good with that? So listen, Edmonton.
Maddie, do we have your permission?
Yes.
she
Okay.
said yes.
Back from the dead. The Edmonton Oilers, they looked terrible in the first period.
Back from the
And then we were at Boston Pizza. We were having a good time. We were, doing our first live stream live with an audience, which was kind of cool.
How was that?
It was fun.
Yeah?
It's great to have the energy there too, right? Like there's because usually when I'm doing them, I'm in this building alone in the middle of the night. So it's kind of like, oh, there's actually people around. Yay.
I know. Every time I see you doing it, I'm like, oh, that's creepy. Me, at least I'm in my own house. You're just in this dark building.
It's not dark. I turn on the lights.
That's
There are sometimes though, like somebody's Siri, I don't know if it's mine or some other Siri in the building will go off and
Whoa.
it'll start talking and I'll go, whoa. And then
There's an Apple HomePod.
that's what it
Yeah,
is.
in here.
The Apple HomePod keeps going off and I'm like, oh, that's
You should. Why you keep saying, "Hey Siri"?
I don't know. I guess-
We're activating people.
Oh.
I gotta shut up. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Hey, Google.
No. Let's not do that bit.
Alexa,
By
call
40
Google.
Jillian. 540 Jillian Steve Dangle Podcast.
Hey Siri,
So we're at Boston
pre-order
Pizza.
Hockey Rants and Raves by Steve Dangle Glynn.
So we're at Boston Pizza. Adam Wilde, by the way, before the live stream that he had during the game when we did the live show with the audience at Boston Pizza, weirdly, even though Steve and I made fun of him for his very TV-esque panel take, you nailed how the game was going to go.
I've said
I forget what that was.
His second period team theory.
So
The
team was best in the second period.
is kind of how it
Every
unfolded. It was
game.
good. It was well done, Adam.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Listen, I'm angling for a spot with the new Amazon crew. You know, I want to be like, here's a take that's weird. Amazon. Second period, whoever wins it in this series wins the game. And the Oilers came out.
Yeah.
They were outshot 6-1 at one point. And then they were like, okay, second period is ours. And it was like 12-6 all of a sudden in the shots. And the Oilers were scoring a bunch of goals. And what became interesting towards the end of the game, and the problem, I feel bad for Oilers fans. I got a couple angry messages because they were like, you haven't been covering our series as closely. And I'm like, absolutely not true. I have been doing the streams. But they're talking about the main show podcast. And the reason for that is because when we released this show, the game happens a couple hours later.
It does, yeah.
And that happens every year in the Eastern and Western Conference Final. Unfortunately, this week of this year, it was Edmonton Dallas that's getting a bit of a short shrift. But
also, like, there's 32 teams in the league, and I think in terms of our coverage, the Oilers are comfortably in the top 10.
yes, comfortably in the top 3, probably.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that I found this one thing the most interesting, and I'll be looking for it tonight, guys. And that is
Seth Meyers?
Edmonton Oilers breaking up the Dallas Rush. It's not exciting. It's not sexy to talk about, but Dallas could not gain a zone entry and hold possession, even on the power play. It gets worse when Edmonton is killing a penalty.
What did I say? What is it? They're capable of it. The Oilers if they try to just get into a shootout with the Stars, they'll lose. They gotta shut her down. They gotta be a little boring. But in years past, they haven't been capable of doing it.
Right.
They can do it now.
Now, I missed a little bit. Sorry. The Oilers came back in the second half of the first period. I misspoke there. The one name that I did want to bring up was Darnell Nurse, because remember, we played that press conference. And one of the first goals, I believe it was Wyatt Johnson's goal.
I think it was the 2-0 goal.
Okay, that would be Esa Lindell's goal, went off of Darnell Nurse. But what does he come back and do on the very next goal? Back pass to Ryan McLeod, puts it in the net. Kind of cool.
He can generate offense. It was crazy to me. Like when I saw the -12, I'm like, all right, fair enough. But the 2 assists and that's it in 15 games shocked me. Like, this is a player who's capable of pretty great things offensively. So when I saw he was generating nothing, like, to me, that's just, okay, all his powers are gone.
Yes.
Like, how do you resurrect this player? But he's still there.
Kevin Bieksa on the panel called Edmonton media Edmonton meat. He said, I call them meat because they are raw, dead, and done.
Quote of the century from Kevin B.
That is they were, I guess Edmonton Sports Talk was like aggressively all over Darnell Nurse in a way that hadn't filtered over here. Usually we pay pretty close attention to what's going on. But I didn't know that the Darnell Nurse hate had reached such a fever pitch. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, dude makes 9.25. Like, I'm sorry. Even he has to know, like, that's not good enough. 2 points, -12 in 15 games heading into that game. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe he should go play for a team in the real NHL. What? I love the Habs fans in the comments of that clip that we posted talking about the Sheldon Keefe clip, where they're like, you know what? You're right. And I was like, do you know how right I have to be for them to say it?
Well, because
right with my whole chest.
Montreal media to me is more intense than Toronto media. It's 2 languages.
I would say it's at least on par. Edmonton is
intense.
It feels like a disproportionate, like a per capita number of weirdness comes out of that market. And their scrums and it's not quite at this level, but we're talking like late Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Oklahoma City Thunder relationship with the media, where they just basically froze everyone out. The Oilers are fed up of these people.
Right.
They are fed up with what they are dealing with in Edmonton. And I haven't paid close enough attention to each and every press conference to know exactly what's happened.
It's interesting from a media perspective. I did a morning show in Calgary, as I've mentioned a bazillion times, and my program director was the program director for both Edmonton and Calgary at the same time.
Oh, yeah, those are the same.
Virgin Edmonton, Virgin Calgary. Well, he was from Edmonton, so he can manage them, and he had lived in Calgary for 10 years. But he said, in first off, there are more radio stations per capita in Edmonton than there are even in Toronto per capita per population.
I believe that.
The engagement in media in Edmonton, fan engagement, listener engagement is far higher.
I totally believe that.
It's crazy. And he's like, we would be trying to do these stunts or whatever. And he's like, in Edmonton, if we did this, there'd be 100 people that would show up and watch this. He's like, in Calgary, they don't have time. And it's so funny to see that, because you're seeing the effect of that. I had a conversation with somebody. He's like, the Flames, if they do great, have about, let's say it's 150, 200,000 people watching. If they're doing poorly, they have about 20,000 less. And it's always stationary. Oilers, it's like always super high. And if they're bad, sometimes it gets even better in terms of engagement. and it's just, there's an intensity in Edmonton about this team.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's great to see them reach the conference final for the second time in 3 years, despite all that.
Are you saying the media's hard?
Yeah, makes it impossible.
Do you think the Darnell Nurse guys had a game that could shut Edmonton media up, despite the puck going off of him and in?
For like 48 hours. Maybe. Well, so if I know anything about the Edmonton media, it's when a player proves them wrong, they willingly say, well, he sure showed us. Ha! No, they're going to get their neck up about it and double down.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, they take criticism great.
Can Edmonton...
They don't email you passive-aggressive things.
The series is tied. Can Edmonton do this again tonight, guys? Do you think they can... Not just a win, but a 5-2 win, where they are ultimately easily the better team?
Usually I'd say a team like Dallas is in trouble based on that performance. But they kind of put all that to bed when they went down 2-0 to Vegas. Like that gives them a lot of leeway. Like I picked them to win the cup and I'm like, oh, they're dead. They're going to die against Vegas. And they play like the most bloodthirsty series of the playoffs that sort of got buried because there were 8 series going on at the time. I could easily see this going 7, and you're going to need, it's 2-2, so it's not an elimination game, but the Dallas Stars are far from dead here. This is going to be a war. I'd be shocked if this series doesn't go 7.
Jesse, what do you think?
You wonder if Edmonton's figured something out and that they've gotten back to playing Nashville Predators hockey as they did against the Vancouver Canucks. Because that was the main thing about Dallas, is that Edmonton couldn't shut them down the couple games early in the series where Dallas kind of just ran up the score, with the Jason Robertson goals and all that stuff. And you wonder if those 2 really impressive periods last game, the second and the third, where they shut down Dallas's game off the rush and they limited all that firepower and they found a way to break through on their side and just pile on the goals. You wonder if they figured something out here, if they can repeat it, if it's a repeatable.
That's the thing.
That's if it's repeatable, I could see Edmonton ending this like very quickly. This could be over in 6.
Edmonton is a bit of a frustrating team because you see them have these eureka moments and these eureka games, and you're like, oh, they'll never lose again. And then they go out and they're the same old Oilers, and you're like, what the like, it's amazing the way we talk about them. You'd never know they were one of the last 4 teams.
No, these are the 4 best teams in the league, and some of them are they're all really flawed in different ways.
Yeah.
And Edmonton, like, they excel when they make things easy on Stuart Skinner.
Yeah.
And that's through team defense and their offense playing great defense. And if they can do it again, I can see them winning two in a row here.
They haven't been this close to the Stanley Cup in 18 years. Like,
crazy.
They're right there. Deeply flawed, whatever. They're right there. I think it's 2 teams like Dallas. I keep talking about like this crazy veteran team, and they do have those guys, and the experience of DeBoer. There's a lot of guys just figuring it out. Logan Stankoven is a huge part of that team. He just got here.
Yeah, in January.
Yeah,
was a part of
yeah.
the team.
He's not even
And he was
rookie.
sent back down too at one point.
Yeah, he's not even rookie. He's like super rookie. He's one of those like, how many games does he even have under his belt? How many more games does he have to play before he's played more playoff games than regular season?
I don't know.
Like it's got to be.
I guess we got to look that up.
Yeah, just,
He's got 47 24 career NHL games in the regular season, 17 in the playoffs.
Wow.
So
dude, they make the final. He's gonna pass it.
if they go 7.
Maybe.
Yeah. There's a chance he could pass it, yeah.
Yeah, so like this isn't there's some players where you're like, well, it's their first year in the NHL and he got better as it went along. No. This is the dude, like, he just got here, right? So both teams have elements of experience and there's some inexperience there too. It's really exciting. It's a completely unpredictable series. I think it's fun. Like I keep talking about this on social. Every time the NHL sends out an email, like a press release, they're talking about there's been more comebacks than ever. Don't turn off a game. Don't you dare turn off a game. Watch all the commercials. Click all the ads. Like that's what the subtext is. But this series is a microcosm of what today's NHL is. You think a team is dead, and that's the team most likely to win. A team goes down 2-0, like they are damn near favored to win that game. It's crazy.
In the second period.
In the second period, said a 57-year-old Adam Wilde.
I'm proud of that take, okay?
Hey, you got it.
I'm
You nailed
proud
it.
of that take.
You 100% nailed it. That's when the game-winning goal was scored.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Steve.
Shorthanded. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was great. And by the way, a little bit of love for Connor Brown.
No.
A little love for Connor Brown.
Why would we do
I
that?
think he's got 3 points in this series.
Okay.
He's and he was part of that shorthanded goal, and he set up Adam Henrique's goal.
Yeah, 3 more than Steve.
And drew it.
Wow.
He drew a penalty too
I don't know.
because he kept his legs moving.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Good player.
It's I think it's a testament to the Oilers' patience with him because people yelled and screamed, dude, get him out of the damn lineup. And, when they're like, oh, yeah, he's played 54 games or whatever it was, doesn't have a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, like what kind of stubborn nonsense is this?
Yeah.
But you got to remember, this was always supposed to be a rehabilitation year because of his injury. I don't think they thought it would take this long, hence the like $3 million bonus or whatever it was. But it's not shocking to me that he's getting better.
So I told you guys that I wanted to talk about Jim Montgomery.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's Jim Montgomery's most memorable quote of the playoffs?
When he challenged David Pastrnak after Game 6, heading into Game 7.
Okay, that is not the one I thought you were going to pick. It's a good one.
Was he talking about? Was it the Toronto travel complaint?
It was the talk to Mike Babcock one. As I thought. The most
Oh yeah.
Now remember, Jim Montgomery. He said I had a real good conversation with Mike Babcock before Game 6 about owning the moment and how to push your team through.
Was it Game 6 or 7?
He said after Game 6.
Oh, after Game.
And then
sorry.
after Game 7 is when he repeated this.
Yes.
Dan Robson and Katie Strang put together an article
I wanted to read this so bad I didn't have the time.
profiling Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
And I think it was because of that quote that it was like, yeah, maybe we should talk about him a little bit.
Well, he's like basically a pariah. Like he's kicked out of the league.
Except that he's not.
Well, meanwhile, all these coaches still speak to him and revere him. So he's very much still influential.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting. So in the article, and I won't repeat everything in the article because there's some very interesting stories.
Read
in
it
there.
verbatim.
The quote, the issue is he's still a powerful guy, said one of Mike Babcock's former players, who, like some others, asked not to be named because he fears reprisal from within the NHL.
That's crazy.
Quote, and he's connected with a lot of influential people. So Mike Babcock, while no team will hire him right now, is very much all the coaches all still talk. The reason that coaches' salaries are going up is because Mike and a few of the other ones got together and said, we're going to start negotiating a little bit harder together under the same agency, which makes a lot of sense business-wise. But also, this is a guy who is still very much like we talked about. What was it? Who was the LA coach that the Leafs interviewed? And he was a San Jose coach and he was an Edmonton coach.
Dua Lipa.
Not Dua Lipa.
Seth Meyers.
No.
Todd McClellan.
Todd McClellan. And I'm not a Todd guy because he's a Babcock disciple. And you said what, Steve?
They all are. They all are. Like it's Babs. I'm trying to think of the cabal. It's Babs. It's Hitchcock. I don't remember if Joel Quenneville's in there. Montgomery obviously talks to him. Is Cooper in there?
I don't know.
I'm trying to. Bill Peters was in there.
Certainly.
Can't think of them all offhand, but yeah, they all talk.
So one of the quotes from the article is just at the beginning. He got away with a lot of stuff in an era where nobody really brought light to any of the stuff that he did. Couple of revelations from the article that I think you'll find very interesting. The Mitch Marner story, which we all know at this point, where Mitch was famously told to write down who he thought wasn't working hard. He put his own name on the list, and then he put Tyler Bozak's and Nazem Kadri's. And he thought that list was going to be private between him and Babs, and he was trying to take responsibility for where he was at. That Mike then shows that to Tyler Bozak and Nazem Kadri, and Mitch was apparently so mortified by that it brought him to tears. And I can understand why. The guy's like 18, 19 years old, and it's an extraordinarily, incredibly shitty thing to do. Here's what predates that.
It's fascinating stuff.
And this part is...
People act like the first bad thing he ever did was with the Leafs.
Oh, no.
Red Wings fans got something for you.
So we've talked about this on the show, and we knew this story before it really kind of got out there. But Mark Hunter, who was the head of Leaf scouting at the time, wanted to draft Mitch Marner. He co-owns the Knights. He knew how good Mitch was, et cetera, et cetera.
And it was great scouting.
Fantastic pick.
Yeah.
And also, who would know him better?
Right.
I mean, whether, regardless of what you think of Mitch and how it's gone, the dude scores like 90 points every year. He's fucking great.
Babcock, according to the article, made it clear to team to hockey ops that he wanted a different player. That's not what we've heard. What we heard is something to the effect of...
We're not drafting children.
We're drafting men. And so, and
which is essentially the same thing.
Yes.
He didn't want to draft Mitch Marner.
There is a story earlier on in this article that actually mentions a friend of the show, Jason York, German Titov, and Denny Lambert from the Anaheim Ducks, and how Mike treated them.
Oh, and I've talked to York Chop about it.
Now, it's completely out there now, but I'll let you read it in the article because it's really, really good. The article is about how Mike likes to single out players, embarrass them, and there's another one I'll mention. Single out players and embarrass them. And if you're on his shit list, then he's the guy that he'll just come back and treat you like crap, right? And that's what he did. Mitch Marner was on this list until Mitch Marner played his way off of it. After the first period of Marner's first preseason game, the year he was drafted, Babcock approached him in the tunnel and told him he was being sent back to junior, rather than sharing the news in a private meeting. I'm quoting directly from the article. Babcock's approach, relaying the disappointing news after a single period, was viewed by some in the organization as unprofessional and callous. Later that fall, Frankie Corrado was picked up on waivers. Then Frankie tells his story about Mike told him, he said, "I have no idea who you are."
Fuck off.
Corrado remembers Babcock telling him. He then told Corrado to meet him in his office at the Leafs training facility the next day at 8 a.m. Corrado arrived early, knocked on Babcock's door, but the coach told him he didn't have time to see him. Corrado waited for an hour and a half, but Babcock never made time.
So does that not perfectly line up with the Blue Jackets story? Yeah, come and see me for lunch. You got to drive all this way. All right, show me your phone, dickhead. And I'm going to look through your phone. Yeah, beat it.
Yep.
It's just a power thing.
Peter Holland lost his position to Byron Fraze in 16-17. Hoping to discuss the demotion, Holland went to Leafs practice early. He found Babcock eating his breakfast, and the coach told him he'd find him as soon as he was done. Nearly an hour later, Babcock called him into the office. He said, "You're here to remind me that you're still on the team, but you've lost your job, and all you can do right now is show up in practice," Holland recalls Babcock saying. "Now tell me what you came here to tell me so you can go home and you could tell your family and your agent that you said what you wanted to say."
What the fuck?
And then before the Western Canada road trip, and I remember this in November, Leafs GM Lou Lamoriello told Holland he'd be staying back while the team worked out a trade for a market where he'd get more playing time. At a news conference in Edmonton the next day, Babcock gave reporters the impression it was Holland's decision for him not to travel with the team. He said Holland met with Lou, had his agent on the phone, and decided he wasn't coming on the trip, which is decidedly not what happened.
What a dick. And then he shit talked Holland after.
Yep. And so it's interesting now. And I want to bring this up for a couple of reasons. First off, Mike Babcock shouldn't be in charge of people. No. And he says at the end of the article, I wouldn't want to be a coach of the NHL again. Bullshit. Yes, you absolutely would. You would die to be a coach of the NHL. Bullshit.
It's not about his hockey mind. It's his inability to handle power.
Yes. Yeah.
I think to just support your claim, there's the part in there about the MLSE staff that he used to chastise daily. So I'll just read that little sentence there. But Babcock
read the article.
Babcock was known to chastise support staff workers if his routine was derailed or the environment didn't meet his standards, former players and employees said. He often focused on one person in the office each day and hounded them repeatedly. When you work for Babs, everyone is on their toes. No one is spared, a former staffer said. So he'd literally just walk in the office and just hound people and be rude to them for no reason. This guy shouldn't be in charge of people, as you said.
Early in Babcock's tenure with the Leafs, after team trainers completed player evaluations ranking work ethic on a 3-level scale, red, yellow, and green, he called players into a meeting with the team's training staff and projected the red reviews on the wall for all to see. Training staff said that they had been led to believe the evaluations would be confidential. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff in this article, specifically the Anaheim story. I had no idea how he treated those guys. Had no idea it was that bad.
You haven't even mentioned a Detroit story, which is crazy.
Well, and there's an Erickson one that we could talk about, but again,
without reading the entire article,
it's behind a paywall.
Let them. I'm giving you the tease here.
All right.
Part of this made me sit back this morning and think, okay, I still disagree with how it was handled in 2019, but I understand a lot more now why the Mitch Marner camp were as hard as they were on the Leafs in that negotiation. Because if you remember,
he was still the coach.
Babcock, he was still the coach, but you remember Babcock demoted him to the fourth line for a while.
And like 2 games.
For 2 games, and it was a big thing was made of it, but he didn't get his rookie bonuses because Lou said, I'm bound to determine no one's getting their rookie bonuses. So what did Austin Matthews do? He waited till August and said, I'm not playing for you unless you give me the rookie bonuses.
The difference is I'm the first overall pick, stupid.
So
give it to me.
And Mitch said, I'm the 4th overall pick. It's not that different.
It's different.
That's how he would look at it.
It's different enough.
And I can understand a little bit more because at the time, what we were saying was, wait a second. Because what came filtering out through particular reporters who the Marner camp were hooked into was, well, they feel mistreated by the Leafs organization. And as fans, your first reaction is, this guy's the most popular guy in the team. What do you mean mistreated? Mm-hmm. Everybody loves this guy. Everybody's buying this guy's jersey. Steve, you're doing video about Marner drinking 7-Ups and then going bonkers. Mountain Dew, that's what it was.
Dude, the Marner jar.
Yeah.
Like, Steve's so hard on Marner. No one remembers the Marner jar. The Marner jar was, so Marner was having a crazy breakout year when he was due for a contract extension. And I invented the Marner jar, which was basically you have to put money in a jar every time you go, oh no, Mitch's number is going to be so high. No, you want it to be high because if it's high, that means he's performing incredibly, which he did. And then someone made a Marner jar website and the money went to, was it Sick Kids?
Yeah.
Or I can't remember. And it raised like thousands of dollars because of how incredible this player was. I had a year-long bit about how incredible this player was, and no one should complain about the numbers.
So when I look at this story specifically, I can understand how a representative, a senior member of this organization mistreated this player, and how, as a father myself, I would be upset on my son's behalf for how this team treated my championship winning MVP son, who came into the NHL and produced right away.
Right away, he had 60 plus points as a rookie.
And I probably could have had more. And so my whole thing in this is, listen, do I still think that they mishandled that negotiation? Yes.
Marner? Oh, yeah.
Unquestionably so. I think the Leafs also mishandled it too by caving. You should have let him sit, and you should have got the number down.
What does the number come in at if the Leafs fire Babcock when Dubas allegedly wanted to fire him? No, you need him to coach until mid-November. We need him to get fired when we all knew he was going to get fired anyway.
Yeah.
I had that read from the very fucking beginning. I had that read from the moment Boston eliminated.
What is concerning to me, though, is how many guys like Jim Montgomery are openly cool with this guy. I am openly cool with this guy. And there are stories in here, guys, that are going to make your fucking skin crawl.
How long is the article?
The article is I don't know how many. I measure word count or whatever. It's long.
How many scrolls?
It's Katie Strang and Dan Robinson, so you know that it's like, you know, when they
both write long.
You always call because it's an expose.
Yeah.
So what you call Rick Westhead sometimes the Grim Reaper, right? Like it's like when he comes out, it's like and I would say Katie is in that realm as well.
Low-key Dan for
sure. And I wanted to highlight this because I do think some of the Mitch Marner frustration comes from that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important as a Leafs podcast that we like, hey, that's new information. We haven't seen that before.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. It's all part of, listen, if he gets traded,
it will be a shame.
Well, it'll be a shame, but I plan on doing a timeline. Like, because, you know, sometimes you look at what he's accomplished and what he hasn't, but, you know, what he's accomplished and why so many fans are like excited for him to get traded. You have to go back and be like, how did we get here? This is one of the most popular players, happy-go-lucky. Like, what personal controversies has he really had? You know what I mean? You know, he wasn't, you know, Austin going and, you know, having a night on the town and friggin' trying car doors and shit. You know, this is a guy who shows up, throws up 1 billion points, likes to crack jokes. You know, Ilya Samsonov, people are talking about how he stinks, and he's talking about how he believes in him. He talks about how Pontus Holmberg's his favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's you know, it seems like he's nothing but positive, at least with his teammates. They talk about how he's a great human being. Why is there this dark cloud surrounding this player? It can't just be he doesn't get it done in the playoffs.
Well, it's not.
Or
we know that.
elimination.
We know it's part of it is the negotiation. Part of it is the play, and I think part of it is
His cornball agent.
I think that people are not thrilled with his camp.
Yeah.
And by the way, he chooses to employ that camp, so he has to bear that responsibility.
I wish he stuck up for himself, and I wish people would stick up for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think
No,
leave it at
you're
that.
not.
I'll leave it at that.
And so I just think that this is an article you should read, and I think I'm concerned for, you know, we talk about Mike Babcock. It's so funny in here. He talks about, you remember his response on the Fan 590.
I don't think you should go over more parts. Are you going over more parts?
No, this is a part. This is not a new piece of information.
Okay.
How long does this article have to be out for us to just go over each piece of it?
Well, yeah,
Well, you shouldn't because it's
No, I know.
it's paywall
I-
content.
No, but this was a Fan 590 clip, which was, I think Bunkus had Babcock on, and he said, "What do you think about these accusations?" And Bab's like, "Well, especially when it came to Johan Franz, and I wish he'd told me at the time." Especially as a big advocate for mental health. Because remember, Mike Babcock was a big mental health advocate here in Toronto.
I remember that.
And you think about this and you go, so that as a coach, that's your guy? That's the guy you look up to, Jim Montgomery and other coaches?
Oh.
Jim's the only one. Jim said the quiet part out loud.
Lots of them.
After the way he treated those people?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else. Scotty Bowman's still alive. You can call Scotty.
The Leafs, I'm trying to remember, did they keep any of Babcock's assistants even?
Well, DJ Smith was one of them, and he left. Wasn't Jim
there
Hiller
for
another
long?
one?
Jim Hiller was another one.
And he's in Anaheim.
DJ Smith was there after Babcock, though.
Was he?
Was he not with Sheldon?
I think for the rest of the season.
Yeah. He remained.
And then he got the Ottawa job?
Yeah.
I mean, it's rare an entire staff gets fired
Yeah.
mid-season.
Yeah, that didn't really happen. One thing that's not mentioned there, it's mentioned briefly, but there's no the other like details in it, is his time at the University of Saskatchewan and coaching the men's hockey team. We've heard from a number of people that he was an absolute tyrant there at the university, just to add to their reporting there. And there's allegedly some allegations about them hiding money to pay him as well.
Yes.
With that gig.
Is that public or is that just stuff that we've been told?
Stuff we've been told that I'm not afraid to say publicly because he's a tyrant.
Yep.
Damn.
Impropriety is the way it was phrased.
Yeah.
Impropriety. Not well liked. There's a reason why he was there a year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
And that his kid was on the staff receiving a lot of money.
Allegedly.
So I just think, man, I think we're done with Mike Babcock, and I think we can be done. And I think these guys need to fucking grow up.
Damn.
And so that's a message to I think a very good coach in Jim Montgomery. Fucking grow up, man. Like how many more stories need to happen for you to go, you know what? He's got a good hockey mind, but I probably should move on from this guy.
It's defiant. Right? It's defiant. People sticking up for their guy. Like that's
stubborn to the point of lunacy.
Yeah, but that's one of those quotes where I remember at the time being like, that's insane. But sometimes I don't go in as hard on something because I'm like, okay, the Jim Montgomery and the Boston Bruins just knocked off the Leafs. I don't want to seem like a sore Leaf fan here, but like, I don't hate Jim Montgomery.
No.
But like that quote is kind of wild.
Quote sucks, dude.
Quote sucks, dude.
Sucks. Just sucks. Like if you're, it sucks. It makes, what it does to me is it diminishes Jim Montgomery. Association with this man he should be a pariah.
I was pretty surprised. I mean, Babcock has made.
It's not the diss I think he thinks it was. He was trying to spear Leaf fans and spear the Leafs organization. I don't think it's the flex no.
Not necessarily.
Steve.
I mean, probably,
Steve,
but not necessarily.
Come on. What do you mean not necessarily?
Yeah.
Mike Babcock? He could
turning
have just
the knife.
said a coach. He said Mike Babcock because he wanted to twist the knife because he finally got it done in the first round. Good for you, Jim. Thrilled for you. My point is, listen, he's a good coach. Don't bring yourself down by associating with this person because bad people create bad situations and they suck you into it. You do not win when you associate with objectively bad people. Here's one of them. That's my opinion. Damn. And the guy at the end, and I just love the quote at the end of the article. He says he doesn't want to be a coach again. Fuck off.
Shut up.
Fuck off.
I don't believe
You'd be a coach right now if you could. Well,
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to be a coach? Why were you being interviewed by the New York Rangers and Columbus Blue Jackets last year then?
No, he's full of shit. Was
Stop
he really
it.
interviewed
Yes.
by the Rangers?
Yes, he was.
Crazy.
Now, switching gears to something that's awesome. The first ever PWHL championship has been awarded to Minnesota. Just want to say a big congratulations.
Hey, the first ever 2-time PWHL champions.
What do you mean?
They won it once the previous game, had the goal disallowed.
Yes, yeah.
And friggin', they're like, all right, fine, we'll do it again. And they pulled it off. Good for them.
And also they beat Boston, and we're happy about that.
yeah.
I think Taylor Heisey officially gets the crown for best player in women's hockey.
Well, I mean, what a friggin' year. First overall pick ever. Literally the first ever overall pick. And then playoff MVP, champion.
Yeah.
How do you have a better year than that?
No, I think
can't.
she gets the belt now.
I did not know this, but the Walter Cup was specifically designed and crafted by Tiffany & Co.
Mm-hmm.
So it is
What?
So it is like it was done right, the Walter Cup. Which is kind of neat. And also Heisey did win the playoff MVP as well, which I think is pretty cool. And there's something about being the first team. Like you might win a championship next year, but we were always the first.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's a forever flex.
It's something special about the inaugural year. I mean, it's something that's been built toward for years and years and years, and you'll forever be the first. You'll forever be the first. If it takes you 10, 11, 12 years to get the next one, doesn't matter. You will always be the first. They can never take away your spot in history.
I think it ends what's been an extraordinarily successful year for women's hockey in a way that I don't even know. Like I think we were talking about it because the game was going on at the same time as I was streaming the Edmonton game, and people were like, "Well, but they still need names for next year." And I was like, guys,
but they know
they know that, they're aware that they put this league together in 4 months. 4 months.
Yeah,
they got the CBA done, and then they're like, okay, we have the fall to do this.
Yeah, looking back on all of the early criticisms of like, hey, there's no team names, like we want more cities and all this stuff, I feel like all of it was unwarranted to see how impressive it was to get this done in that short amount of time and to have a full run league happen in that short span, and then for it to be that successful. Like it's only praise for the PWHL and getting everything done and doing it their own way. You know, they didn't just go and do WNHL.
Yes.
It's a completely unique other league with different rules. They don't even have like the structure of, hey, we have team owners and they own these teams and you can do it. They own all the teams as well, and it's a completely unique experience, and they got it done in a short amount of time, and it was a complete success.
I'm surprised, like based on my opinion at the time, because I hated that they didn't have team names. I'm surprised how little it mattered.
It didn't matter at all.
It didn't matter.
No.
It didn't friggin' matter. Like
it's awkward saying it.
Yeah,
because like when I went to a couple games this year, and I was like, I'll be like, oh hey, my dad or whatever, I'm on the way to the game, the Toronto PWHL women's
franchise
game,
HC.
you know, so I can't be like, I'm going to the Toronto Huskies game or anything like that, because it's awkward to say it. Once you get over that one awkward sentence, it doesn't matter.
It's over.
Yeah.
The purple one. We're cheering for the purple one.
Should mention, Haley Salvian reported this morning in her article about so her article is the PWHL's first season over, what worked and what are the top priorities for year 2. And she said, let's get this out of the way quickly. Team names and logos are coming. On the TSN broadcast of Game 5 Wednesday night, Amy Shear, League's Senior VP of Business Ops, said the names and logos will be announced in August.
In August.
Yes.
Okay. Hey,
Nice.
I appreciate it, because August is tumbleweed month for hockey. So
Yes.
Emergency podcast.
I don't mind. Let's jump on.
I don't give a
We'll
shit.
be,
I'm kidding.
yeah, I'm down. Yeah, let's go through them. Let's rank the top 6.
Let's
out of
do
6.
it. I'll do it from my helicopter.
One of the other things that Haley mentions, and you know, obviously she said arenas matter because a lot of teams had to split time between different arenas, but specifically the New York situation is a bit of an issue.
They're not New York.
They're not in New York.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah. So UBS Arena was did hold a couple of games, I think. Total Mortgage Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Prudential Center in Newark. The practice rink is in Stamford, Connecticut, too.
Awful. The idea that you're the New York team and you put the team out in Connecticut and you're trying to build a fan base like that. But then you give them the leeway because they did it in like 2 months.
At what point do you just become, we are the Northeasterners?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Do you have to change the name?
So are they figuring it out for next season, getting them in Manhattan or something?
Stan Kasten, who's one of the top league advisors, said, we obviously want to be in New York. If you're a league at all, you have to be in New York. Yeah. The Prudential Center, where they got their best turnout, 5,100 fans, which is a lot for a new team. 64 miles from their Stamford practice facility. So
Jesus,
you gotta be in New York.
Yeah.
You gotta be in New York. So that, I think, obviously they know what the brands are going to be. If they're saying we're announcing in August, they know what the brands are going to be. They're finalizing the design and they're putting together the sizzle reel right now. Here's what we want. Here's how we want the announcement to go. It's going to be late August. We're all going to get jacked and excited, right? So I would imagine top priority is New York and arena. And they have to figure that out.
Be.
Get somewhere in the state.
Yes.
That's close to Manhattan. Go out in Long Island or something. I don't know. Just one of those. There's plenty of rinks in the New York downtown area. Like, they need to move the practice facility and just make it the New York.
Yeah, agreed.
They'll figure it out.
The league will play at least 30 games next year versus the 24 we got in the regular season this year. Stan Kasten, 24 this year.
24 and
at least 30. next year.
Nice.
There's not going to be an expansion team yet, although games in Detroit and Pittsburgh were hugely successful.
The Pittsburgh Penguins owners are really angling to
They're
get
dying
in
for
on
one.
it. Yeah.
So I like that. Fenway's smart. They're not idiots, right? Like they know this is happening. So we're looking. They're saying that they expect more neutral site games at NHL venues next season. And obviously, they're going to probably use these as test markets. So Pittsburgh and Detroit did really well, you would expect. I'm actually surprised there wasn't a team in Detroit to start. Original six type of thing. And the other issue obviously is travel, because travel has become extraordinarily expensive, especially post-pandemic, as airlines look to pay off the loans that they took out to stay solvent. That's why travel is so expensive, by the way, is there's a bunch of loans to pay off for these airlines. Isn't that great?
So who's paying for what?
All of us. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. And they're also looking at potentially expanding reserve lists as well. And if someone like Amanda Kessel joining the draft for year 2 is going to be fascinating to watch.
That's a bit of a monkey wrench, eh?
Huge.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like,
huge.
Wait, okay.
Yeah. They're going to need, I would imagine, what do you think in the next 5 years? There are probably 10 to 12 teams.
5 years is a little quick.
You think?
Yeah.
Double the size?
Yeah, I think to double in 5 years would be a little quick, maybe a little slower than that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So the season's not going to be January to June anymore. It's different next year. Did you have it there?
I didn't see it in Haley's article. It won't be. It's not going to be January to June. Okay.
No, there's a different. I believe it's starting earlier. It's going from I want to say November or December to early or late April or May, but it's not the January schedule we got.
They're adding to it.
Yeah. They're getting on their regular. This was the half season, right? So they're getting on their regular schedule or whatever it'll be.
Right.
Do you guys think it would be beneficial if they ran it like the WNBA schedule, where they're off the NBA schedule? So if the PWHL started in, let's say, late May or early May and ran through till October.
So
it's not competing with hockey.
Do you remember how ass the ratings were for the bubble playoffs, the bubble Stanley Cup playoffs?
No, I don't remember
really.
that.
No one wants to watch hockey when it's hot out. No,
Yeah.
I thought captive audience, no one's allowed to go anywhere. No one cared. So I mean, we have so little precedent to draw from for this. Okay, if it works out like the WNBA, it'll go well. If it works out like the bubble playoffs for the NHL, it's going to be a disaster.
Do you think there was other circumstances like a pandemic?
Yes. So it's something they could try. It's something they could try. I mean, you also have to skate on ice, which can be a pain in the ass depending on the market. I'd be open to it. I mean, if we're not going to cover baseball full time, it would certainly help us. That's who I'm looking at.
I also think having it as spring summer league opens the women in the game to always participate in the Olympics without having to ever pause the season. If you start if it starts in March, you never have to worry about an interruption.
And you're coming off the Olympics, which is a huge jump.
You carry the momentum from February into the opening of the season. Plus the World Championships, if it takes place around that time as well, they're also free to participate in that. And who knows if there's also, I don't know if it's a winter league, like a 3-on-3 league or something like that. Steve's familiar with 3-on-3. But it opens them up. It opens them up to off-season opportunities when hockey is actually going on.
I mean, it could be pretty interesting to graduate from university and then be playing pro a month later.
So that's what I think is the genius of how the NCAA does March Madness and the WNBA does their season. Caitlin Clark went from the finals of the March Madness tournament to 2-3 weeks later being drafted first overall to 2-3 weeks later their season starting.
Yeah, what was it, a month? Yeah,
so since September, when she was playing in the NCAA, she hasn't stopped playing basketball and won't until the WNBA season ends. So I think it'd be cool, you have those university kids and the draft takes place immediately after the season, and then they enter the league and you carry all of that momentum.
And by the way, sharp as hell, right? You're coming off March Madness and then you walk right into training camp.
Carry
it's
all
outrageous.
That stuff, and they're already fresh and they're going and they're ready. I don't know. I think it'd be
fried by the end of the summer.
Yeah, but you're also 20.
Yeah, you'll be
This
fine.
is the time to be fried.
Yeah.
Use those young legs.
Yeah.
The Stanley Cup schedule is out. Saturday, June the 8th will be the start of game 1, no matter how these series go. By the way, it's May 31st as of this recording. So if by chance we get a double Edmonton win or a double Dallas win or a double or Florida finishes off New York on Saturday, we're talking 5 or 6 days in between.
Yeah, there's just going to be a gap.
Yeah, and then you've got so Saturday, June 8th, Monday, June 10th, then 3 days later, Thursday, June 13th, Saturday, June 12th. Obviously, they want their Saturdays.
Yep.
Tuesday, June 18th for Game 5, Friday, June 21st for Game 6, Monday, June 24th for the potential Game 7. So
I think two things can be true at the same time. One, the Stanley Cup final needs to have these 2-day breaks. Anytime a team goes East Coast to West or West to East during the regular season, the NHL schedule makers do their best to get them a break, like in travel. The other thing that is true is the season is too long, man. 24th is the Game 7.
That's so late.
So here's what could potentially happen. Game 7 on June 24th. The NHL draft is then a few days later, June 28th, 29th, day off, free agency.
yeah.
Dude, time.
The end of June is going to be nuts.
Well, and here's the thing. Why start it in mid-October?
I don't know.
We talked about it last episode. Started October 1st.
I agree.
For the U.S. markets, which is the majority of the NHL, you want the least amount of time competing with football. Like that's the honest answer. The way the NHL looks at it, there are the majority of the league is in America, and all of these markets that also have football, you're going up against it. And you want to limit that amount of time.
Right.
If they could push the start, I'm sure they would. You know, if they get to start the NHL in November,
If I have to do any more freaking like July 25th, okay, hey, now it's the draft, guys. Remember that? Like, oh my God. It was so weird.
Well, yeah, and like baseball playoffs are also too, but that's less consequential. Just football is number one, and you want the least amount of time that you're competing with football.
So wait, the NHL wants as many people as possible to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
Could have fooled me.
Stop it. Stop.
Real NHL.
The real NHL. All right, Jesse, if there's nothing else, I'd like to do the press conference to end our Friday.
Presser SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Let me pull up the questions here. We had a question from Natasha that relates to the real NHL that Steve Dangle will never let go of.
Nope.
I'm so happy I read that quote to you.
Me too.
Natasha says, will Sheldon Keefe still get a tribute video after his real NHL statement from the Leafs?
Yes. He was their coach for half a decade. And also, I said this, excuse me, I said this on Twitter, and I said it on the stream, and I said it at Boston Pizza. But let me just reiterate it for this audience that this is where I had the rant. I don't hold that Sheldon Keefe quote against Sheldon Keefe. Because it's not a Keefe quote. It's Keefe relaying something he was told by several coaches. So it's not Sheldon Keefe going, glad I'm out of there. You know, it was just him relaying what he was told. And I was just so upset by it. And I just feel like it's a complete loser mentality that unless I've missed it, I feel like you don't get in other sports. And if you do say it, people call you a friggin' loser.
Mm-hmm.
Glad I'm not the coach of the Lakers anymore. I'm glad I don't have to deal with the Knicks. Sure glad I'm done with the Patriots. Oh, man, I would never want to be with Man United or Barcelona.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that without his time in Toronto, Sheldon Keefe doesn't get the whopping contract he just got from the Devils.
No, you think
like,
that...
I'm sorry, you think that he makes that much money now? That they just tear up his deal? Come on.
No,
Come on.
I think Sheldon Keefe is disappointed with how things ended. And I mean, I've been laid off before or fired before, and it's not like I was super stoked about the place who did it.
Yeah.
But time goes by and I'm like, well, it ended up being what was best for me. Like, I don't wish I was still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And maybe he does, but I think next year when he has success with the Devils, which I think he's going to have, I don't think he's going to regret it. So that real NHL quote, I don't attribute to Sheldon Keefe, even though he's the one who said it.
Okay.
And you hate him.
Wow.
I like him.
Yeah, you hate him as a person and his family.
Wow.
This is from Kevin Maloney. Says, who do you think is the Angel Hernandez of the NHL?
Okay.
Now or all time.
And
Plus, Steve wants to talk about Angel Hernandez a little bit.
Yeah, and I have it written down here.
Yeah, no, this is a great question because I didn't realize that I had tied myself to Angel Hernandez in any way, but at Boston Pizza, one of the people there asked, he goes, new episode drop? I go, yeah. He goes, you talk about Angel Hernandez? I go, no. And he looked really disappointed. So here's my thing with Angel Hernandez before I answer your question, or in order to answer your question. So I did what a lot of baseball fans did when Angel Hernandez announced he was retiring, and I watched a compilation of all his fuck-ups.
Oh, I thought you were going to say celebrate.
Well, I mean,
Throw a party.
but I wasn't sad.
Dance.
I'm not sad he's gone. Like, here, let me be as harsh as possible. I'm not sad he's retiring, and baseball is better now that he's not umpiring games. That's as harsh as I can be. Now, I watched a compilation of all his greatest mistakes, and unless I'm missing something or some story comes out about him, I counted out of maybe 25, 30 screw-ups that were in this video, one where he did the typical umpire thing of like inserting himself into a situation. Mm-hmm. Usually he would make a call and it was his call and he left it at that. If you're going to scream and yell at him, yeah, he's going to throw you out. But there are so many umpires of the MLB that relish getting into fights with guys, inserting themselves into situations, making it deeply personal and being grossly unprofessional. And I never really got the impression that was Angel Hernandez. Mm-hmm. He just had a strike zone shaped like a friggin' rhombus. Like I don't like, he could not call balls and strikes for the life of him, for the absolute life of him. And like a retired umpire like Joe West coming out and defending him, I'm like, you're not doing what you think you're doing right now, Joe. You're actually, people were like, oh, I think I feel bad for Angel. And Joe West is like, I think he did a great job. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that confirms he did a shit one. Joe. He kept it professional. As much as I hate the way the NHL is officiated, MLB umpires are the most grossly unprofessional officials in all of sport. All of sport. If I could fire them all in one fell swoop, I would. And yeah, that would get rid of a few really good ones. They're grossly unprofessional piss babies who have no spot in the game. And it always gets deeply personal with them. So, who's the Angel Hernandez of the NHL? Like I said all that to define who Angel Hernandez was. So we're talking about a guy who's not unprofessional. They just always make bad calls. And they're popular amongst their peers. I don't know. I kind of think that describes Wes, doesn't it?
I don't know.
I don't think Wes is unprofessional.
I also don't think Wes is that bad.
No, he's not that bad. That's why I don't like the
I don't think there's a comparison that needs to be made here. I think this is a very special case. You got to remember, Angel Hernandez sued the MLB because he said that there was racial bias because he hadn't been assigned to a World Series since 2005. And what the MLB did was they went to court and they showed all the terrible calls that he'd made. And they also showed racially who they'd promoted into the playoffs and who they didn't. And there was no statistical evidence that A, Angel Hernandez deserved to be there, and B, that they had discriminated not just against him, but against anybody. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of guy who he was bad and then indignant. Mm-hmm. And that's where you lose people. Like, if I don't know how NHL referees are, I have a sense because there are a couple of them former ones on Twitter. One, that
they disagree with each other all the time.
Well, they say things sometimes I'm like, I don't get it, but it helps me understand in the absence of actually talking to the refs what the mentality is.
Well, they won't talk to us.
They would talk to us.
They won't talk.
Oh, you mean refs?
Yeah, they won't talk publicly.
No, they can't.
They don't justify their decision.
Yeah, they're not allowed.
Yeah, they're not allowed to.
Yeah,
they're not allowed to.
I assume
That's an
some of
NHL.
them want to at some points, but they're not allowed to.
And so in Angel Hernandez's case, he's just a guy who is bad at his job, and he's in a union, and they couldn't get rid of him.
But now he's just private citizen Angel Hernandez, and all the power to him. Excellent. Lovely. I hope you have a great life, man. You should enjoy it.
Did you see the tweets? Like, that's Angel Hernandez finally got a call right. He's retiring.
Yeah, that's the low hanging fruit. It's a good chirp.
It's a good chirp.
It's a good chirp. No, and he's, I get to
That's funny.
I get to spend time with my family. That's beautiful, man. I genuinely I want you. I wish you happiness for the rest of your life. Don't call any more baseball games. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Like it just sort of, now that it's over, like there's an end to the story. I'm like, okay, this is complete. We can put a bow on it. I'll cheer for the person now.
Yeah.
But it got to the point though where every game he called was a story.
Yeah, because it was bad.
And was it disproportionate? Probably. Probably his strike zone.
I need
Terrible.
somebody to do an inside story about how the MLB finally got him to go.
Matt, if you want to bring this up, there's an exclusive inside look at Angel Hernandez's signature on his Angel Hernandez's signature on his retirement papers.
That's a good chirp.
He did not hit the line where he was supposed to sign.
That is
No, he would tell you he did it perfectly.
his strike zone was so wide and so narrow. Like the top and bottom of his strike zone, like that was the one thing I noticed consistently is it was about, 12 feet wide and maybe a foot tall.
One thing that will make all of this so much better is the robot umpires that are coming eventually. They're going to be a little delayed. Rob Manfred said they probably won't be ready for the 2026 season, but hopefully by 2027 or maybe even 2028, which isn't, I wish it was a little quicker than that, the robot umpires will come, but they'll be here eventually. The way we all watch TV and there's the little box there that shows where the pitch is, the umpires will have that. It'll tell them if it's a strike or a ball, and they'll just call it based off that, and it'll be fucking fabulous.
No, what if
Yeah.
instead of that, they were just like, strike. That's what it is right now.
Yes.
Ball.
But that's also how it's been for the 150 years of baseball.
They lean over with their, like Angel Hernandez did that job with a bad back too. Like that's why he missed the first part of the season. It's crazy. I can't imagine being an umpire and like having a sore back. But you're leaning over all these people and you're going, yeah. That's what it is.
Well, it's like I keep saying, why if better technology exists, why don't we use it?
Yeah.
I say it in the NHL too.
Yeah.
Why do we need linesmen to call an offside when we can have one automatically tracked? Why do we need review, like instant review, when we know that a chip in the puck, despite, we got to look at 50 camera angles. No, just put a chip in the puck, put a chip in the blue or in the red line. Yeah. If it crosses the red line, it's a goal.
No, Adam.
It should be uniform.
It's easy. Yeah. It's right. Tennis did it. It's like that's
soccer does it too.
Soccer does it too. That VAR or what do they call it?
But what about fault? Wouldn't that be better? Some guy standing in a big lifeguard chair and he goes ball.
On a ridiculous angle, by the way. When you think about how tennis umpires sit and they're up in that chair, and
they're not making the calls though.
They're not anymore. They used to.
Well,
before the thing, they used to make the calls.
No. I mean, no. They have the guys in the lines. They make the line calls.
The line calls.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's
right.
I just feel like
the people who put your hands.
Oh
like
yeah,
this,
yeah.
Like, it's in. Yeah.
I liked your impression of it, Jesse.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. I was, as a kid, a volunteer at the Rogers Cup.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, I didn't get to do the. I was too old to do the ball peep. I wanted to be a ball boy.
Yeah,
actually on the court and doing the thing. So I just volunteered like around the stadium at York University.
Because weren't Carolyn Cameron and Danielle Michaud from Sportsnet? They were the ball person.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They like
I
little
don't know.
guys with fast feet. They couldn't have Jesse taking two
Jesse
steps
would
to
have
get
been
to
on
every ball.
like a Sports Center top 10 with like
Because when I volunteered, I was, I think, like 16 or 17. I think
Cool.
they keep the kids under 15 on the ones on the court running back and forth. But I just like did like the bus, like when you get the shuttle bus to the stadium, I'd be there as like a little kid, be like, hey, go to the shuttle bus. And then I got a bunch of free gear, and it was the best part of the whole thing. So I still have like a bunch of Rogers Cup gear. And at the end of one of the nights, because you get free grounds pass as well if you're a volunteer, they had the bag of tennis balls that were the ones that aren't good anymore. Because you know how they switch out tennis balls and everything so fast. You're not allowed to use them in play anymore. So they just discard them. And I took home one of the bags of tennis balls, and it was like 200 tennis balls in a garbage bag.
You took the whole bag?
I took it home. And my parents were like, what the fuck? What are we going to do with all these tennis balls? Like, I don't know. They're free tennis balls. They're professional tennis balls.
What did you do with them?
We had them at the house for like a year, or like years.
And
before.
they all just got knocked into your neighbor's yard?
Yeah. So we just had a bunch of tennis balls. It was awesome. Best time.
That's great.
Best time, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Anyways.
Any other questions?
Last thing. May 28th, a couple days ago, was the anniversary of Harambe. And not just the anniversary of Harambe, but our dear old friend, Mike Francesa. We haven't spoken about Mike Francesa in quite a while. And if you're not familiar, he is one of the most famous New York radio personalities of all time.
Yes.
He was WFAN?
WFAN.
Is where he...
Mike and Mad Dog, right?
Mike and Mad Dog. Mad Dog's now gone on to be on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith for a couple years now.
And has a
doing
daily
that.
MLB show even in the winter.
Wow. Like those guys,
That's
like
crazy.
Stephen A. and Mike, where they just do everything all the time. It's an unbelievable way to do your business. But Mike Francesa, all those years, was on WFN with Mad Dog, and he's a legend in the industry. But towards the end of it, he would be the most old man about things. And we used to run clips of when he would be an old man about things all the time. And I don't know if we ever played this one in particular 8 years
we did.
ago.
Oh, I think
I'm
we
pretty
did.
sure we did.
Can we show this clip?
Yeah,
we
of course
can. It's just the audio.
you can
It'll
play
let
the
me
audio.
know when we upload it. I'll find out if we have to remove the audio. It's fine. We can cut this if we need to. But I think we're going to be cool playing this.
We were fine playing radio audio for years.
Yeah.
Television audio, they have a problem with.
Is where they copyright strike us and everything. So this is 8 years ago. Francesa talking about Harambe.
Could you imagine if that was your child in there? You're going to have people who are going to say, wait a second, I'm worried about the gorilla. When your kid's in there, basically maybe seconds from having his head crushed. We live in a world now where you are going to be more concerned with the gorilla than you are the little boy. What's wrong with you people? They're thinking about him. He fell into an area where he's in there with a gorilla who is dragging him around the habitat, and you're telling me you're worried about the gorilla's welfare? What is wrong with you?
There's nothing like New York radio, man.
No,
The gorilla?
Not the
But
gorilla.
like, this is in between yelling about the Yankees.
Yeah.
This is on sports radio. He's like, let me tell you about the gorilla.
And we
The
got
gorilla.
people- we live in a society. He basically just said that. We live in a society. This is where we're at. And I'm like, dude, like there were so many other things going on in 2016 that he had to worry about. But Harambe was,
No.
No.
Harambe is where I draw the line.
Not even a little bit.
We people fucking
This
marching
is
with
it.
tiki torches and fucking, and he's like, the gorilla though.
Gorilla?
And he's like, why are you talking about this? Like, you got a Mets game to talk about.
Yeah.
But this is what motivates you to go away from sports.
I missed our Francesa segments. I think he still does it, but I don't think he does it at the Fan. And I think it's
He
less
has his
publicized.
own app that you got to pay for. We covered this.
Oh,
Remember he
yeah.
launched his app and it was a disaster and you had to
Yeah.
pay like $6 a week or something
Yeah, it was
to
a lot.
listen to him on the radio.
His app only pales in comparison to the Jeremy Renner app. If you look up the Jeremy Renner app, it's one of the,
We covered that too. That
yeah,
was the
you know
disaster.
what? Maybe I'll bring that to the VIP episode.
Let's do that.
The Jeremy,
Hawkeye has an app?
the Jeremy Renner app is one of the funniest moments in internet history, and it is criminally underreported. So next week on the VIP, that's what we'll talk about. It's just
It was one of the funniest moments ever.
amazing. Just a great moment in history. Great moment in history. So don't look up anything, Steve. All right? And let's fire the extra. Let's get out of here.
Anything else happened yesterday?
What do you mean?
Oh,
Like yesterday?
anything of significance?
Big shout out to my mom who won a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Canadian Screen Award.
Yeah.
I heard she swept the category 34-0.
Best host, best show, too, which was cool.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection